Thursday Murder Club, now streaming on Netflix, is from director Chris Columbus, who also did the first 2 Harry Potter movies, the first 2 Home Alone movies, and Mrs. Doubtfire. Written by Katie Brand, who did Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, and Suzanne Heathcote, a writer for Killing Eve and Fear the Walking Dead, based on the book by Richard Osman. It stars Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Sir Ben Kingsley, and Celia Imrie. Just looking at that cast, you'd probably be expecting an Oscar movie, until you realize that it's a Chris Columbus movie based on a book called The Thursday Murder Club. Actually, that cast could also signal that it's an old people movie. That makes more sense for this one. That probably sounds like an insult, or that it can't be enjoyed by anybody younger. Neither of these things are true. Anyway, these people play residents of a retirement home who have a club where they discuss murder cases, which gets a little more real when an actual murder takes place nearby, and they try to solve that themselves. This is not the most thought-provoking movie ever, but there's also nothing wrong with it. The mystery is intriguing and has enough twists and turns to keep you guessing. It's sort of like a movie version of Only Murders in the Building, except the building is a retirement home and there's no podcast stuff in there. And the cast is charming. They bring a sense of likable energy and levity to the affair. This is not a particularly dark story, at least by murder mystery standards, and the execution is appropriately light entertainment. This doesn't set out to be anything more than just a nice murder mystery, but it's perfectly good at being just that. Basically the kind of movie Netflix unfortunately only wants to make. But this time they're actually good at making it.
You're 5 feet nothing, 100 and nothing, and you got hardly a speck of athletic ability. In this lifetime, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself.
A true story from the creators of Hoosiers.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
Him is from director Justin Tipping, who also wrote it along with Zach Ackers and Skip Bronke. From producer Jordan Peele, a detail that the advertising really wants you to know. It's about a young football player who gets the honor of a week of training under a legendary athlete played by Marlon Wayans. But that training camp has a lot of weird, creepy stuff in there. Interesting concept, and though the execution doesn't quite live up to that promise or even the trailers, it gets enough out of it to make for a good horror movie. It's best when it's focusing on the cost of greatness, his suffering and his willingness to give up everything, including his humanity, to be great. And the acting helps with that, with a fully dedicated Tyreek Withers and Marlon Wayans as the lead role and as the main antagonist respectively. It's a horror movie version of Whiplash, but with football. An interesting take on the sports movie, full of trippy and disturbing imagery. The imagery and cinematography are the best part. This is a visually stunning movie, even when certain shots, like a recreation of The Last Supper, are far from subtle. There is a lot of weird stuff going on, but the movie's ultimate downfall is the ending sequence, where they not only don't explain any of it, but actually make the whole movie beforehand more confusing. It goes all in on the surrealism, but not in a fun or trippy way, more of a what the hell's going on type of way. Who are all these people? How did we get here? Why did that guy just explode? Are we even supposed to know any of this? Because this doesn't feel like anything's supposed to be ambiguous. The lead seems to know what's going on. Did you just fail to set anything up? Also, on top of that, the sequence is a little too silly for its own good coming at the end of a mostly serious horror film. Not in terms of humor, more just outrageousness? It doesn't make a lot of sense, which I guess is why it hasn't been clicking with the common audience, but I still don't see why the critic reviews are this bad. Like, this should have at least gotten enough praise from the art house heads to get to at least mixed reviews. This movie does kind of work in a surreal, artsy horror way, although to be fair, it does kind of get worse when the surreal stuff is more prevalent at the end. Him starts out as an interesting tale of selling your soul for greatness, but the end turns the whole thing into a surreal movie that you just experience even if you don't fully understand. It's not particularly great at either of those things, but it is good at both of them. A disappointment, but an entertaining and well-made one, even if the writing can't match its style.